So, we're going to kick off our product of the week by All Things Contour Palette. So, the first video I'm going to do today is how to do your standard contour. I'm not going to do anything like extra crazy, just your standard, and I'm not going to do the full face and everything that I normally do, just so you can get a feel for what contouring is and how to use this palette. Now, this is the Radiant Beige, which is good for my skin tone, but someone with a slightly darker, tanner skin tone, anyone really could use it, but this one is great for the darker and the tanner skin tones, and this one is called Deep Luster. It's just a little bit darker. So what I'm going to start by doing, and I already moisturized, I primed, I have my foundation and my concealer on, which I used Brighten Up in our color correcting concealer, and I used Light Cream in our foundation. And that's all I've done so far outside of the moisturizing and priming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my brush here, and you can use any brush. It depends on what you particularly like, what you're comfortable with, what works well for you. My brush is a little dirty. Sorry, wasn't prepared. So I'm going to use this brush here. It comes to almost like a point. I like that best. Some people prefer a squared flat brush. Some people use more of a blusher brush. It's all what your preference is. You can even use the beauty sponge. Now I'm going to go in with the middle tone here, which is a little bit darker, and it's more of a flat. Always tap off the excess, and what you want to do is you want to look for where your ear line and your cheek are. So, do fishy face, and you'll see that line where the cheekbone ends. You don't want to go so far to your mouth, and you don't want to go too close to the ear. So you want to find about center of that line. Very lightly. And don't worry if it's dark yet, we can blend it out. And you're going to blend that towards your ear. And do the same thing. Now, the reason I do that, I start with that line, is because then I go in with my big fluffy brush, the same shade in the middle, and I'm going to do the 3. But that gives me the starting line of what I like. And it's also going to kind of smooth out that line a little bit. But you want to start just above your eye, and I'm going to blend it out and wrap it around to that line. And then from that line, I'm going to wrap it down and around underneath the edge of the chin, just right here at that edge. And you can see a difference already. And I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side.
Recovery Centers of America at Devon can help. In addition to treatment for men and women of all ages, RCA at Devon is home to innovative...
You can even use the lighter shade if you're not quite as comfortable with that darker shade. And they are buildable, so you can use the lighter shade and then darken it up just a little bit. I'm only doing just a little dab at my hairline so that it creates kind of like a shadow so my forehead doesn't look as big. Now what I'm going to do is I have a moist beauty sponge, and I'm just going to kind of lightly go over it, and I'm just doing a press and kind of twist, very lightly motion. And what that's going to do is that's going to pick up excess product and blend it out. so it doesn't look as muddy or as dark. It's going to be more blended and toned in. And if you feel it's still dark after that line, or after you blend it, I mean, you can go back in with your foundation and touch it up just slightly with the sponge. So like you can create a very sharp line by putting on your foundation on your sponge or your brush and just slowly, very lightly, tapping where you want it to go away. See, I like it so that it's not ridiculously dark and whoa there, but enough for you to see the difference. Like this side's a little darker than what I like. And there you go for that. Okay. Now, what a lot of people like to do with finishing up the whole contour look, contour and highlight, is I will use an angled brush. You can use any small tipped brush. You don't want to go too small, but you don't want to go large either. And I'm going to use this same shade here, just lightly dip and tap. And you're going to go right here on the outside of your bridge, just on the outside. On each side. And don't worry about it being perfect. Anything can be fixed. And no one is perfect. See, like, I just messed that up. I like to kind of bring it into my eyebrows to create a little bit of a shadow, kind of a connection, and I'll fix it. So if it looks too dark, don't worry. This takes a lot of practice, and I don't think anyone on this planet has made it perfect. I don't think there is such a thing. And I go right under there to create a shadow. And right here. With just the extra that's on my brush. So then what I'll do, I'll take my fluffy brush, and I'll squeeze it. And I will blend it downward. Just slightly, so that I wipe off any extra. I'm going to take my blending sponge and do the same thing that I just did with the other lines. Just going to blend them. I'm just squeezing it and blending it very gently. So those lines aren't harsh. You can still see the shadow and the definition created, but it's not like, nah, mud on your face. Okay. If you want, you can take the same brush you used before, tap off any excess, and just kind of lightly brush the side of your nose. And what that does is it thins it out and creates that shadow illusion. Now, clean off my fluffy brush, and I'm going to take a combination. This yellow is really good at under eye, so you can cover up, you can hide dark circles, all that. And you know, I'm actually going to use a different brush because I want to do something different. I'm going to use a fluffy blending or eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to take this pink. The pink and the yellow do essentially the same thing, just different tones, different effects. The pink is good at brightening up. The yellow is good at concealing dark circles and wrinkles. I'm just going to put it a little bit in the corner of my eye. Now, again, you can use any brush that you're comfortable with, any brush that you like. This is our highlight shade here. Very pigmented, so if you're not huge on highlight, Go gentle, light-handed. And then you're going to go right here under the eye. You want to go in places where if you're standing under a light, what would the light shine on and show off? They're the points of your face you want attention drawn to, you want people to see. I typically go right at the very edge of my cheekbone on each side. You can even kind of wrap it like that a little bit up to your eye. Okay. And if you go with a thinner brush again, remember just a little goes a long way. And you don't have to do highlight either. It's fun to play with. And even if you just add a small touch, and I'll explain this too. So what I just did was I added a slight amount to above my eyebrows. That makes my eyebrows look a little lifted, a little higher. And then I put it right here. That makes it look like the light reflecting. It kind of brings more attention to the center of your face. And what we call the Cupid's bow draws the attention to your lip. Okay, so then what you would do is, again, go back and blend it. You don't have to do this part. This just makes it look a little more subtle, a little calmer, and less as noticeable. If you're going out somewhere and you want it noticed, you would leave it after just kind of blending out the lines. But if you want more of a bold look, you want to leave it without blending it too much. I'm going with the basic. I'm not going to blend that because it's very unnoticeable. So then there you go. And there's the highlight and the contour. You can even, if you have a double chin like me, go back into that original shade you used, just a little bit under your chin, kind of connecting those lines we created with the 3. And it creates the illusion of a shadow. So your face looks slimmer. Your nose is kind of more defined. There's no perfect science to this. Makeup is fun. It's a creation. You can do it however you're comfortable with, whatever shade you're comfortable. Bronzer, you can do it with bronzer, but bronzer has more of a shimmer effect. It's not going to give you the same look, but you can add bronzer on top in the other areas to kind of make your face look a little tanner, more sunned. If you want a much deeper look, like you want it very strong looking, you would go in on top of this very lightly with this darkest shade, and that's going to really make that line pop. But for this purpose, I just went with the lightest, natural-ish basic contour. Okay, we're going to follow this up with some other videos as we go along this week on things you can do with this contour palette. I will post where you can get it, along with some information this week on ingredients and such. And of course, we're going to have the price. Thanks for hanging out. I hope this helped you out.